Rain slammed sideways as Marina Schultz shoved the glass door open with her elbow and barked, "Get out, Elena!" The cardboard box in my arms disintegrated instantly. My things splattered across the pavement, pens rolling into puddles, a framed photo of my grandmother smashing into pieces. The sound made my heart crack. My blazer clung to my skin like it was melting into me, my hair stuck to my face in wet ropes. And behind the glass, Marina stood there smirking, dry, warm, and victorious. Co-workers lined the windows inside, their faces pressed against the glass like spectators at a zoo. No one moved. No one spoke up. No one even looked sorry. I stood there shivering, water streaming down my face, mixing with something hotter, tears maybe, rage definitely. I whispered into the storm, "What did I do to deserve this?" The door locked behind me with a mechanical click that sounded like the end of everything. Thunder rolled overhead. The sky opened up even harder. And I realized with horrible clarity that this moment wasn't an accident. She had planned this. The storm stung my cheeks like 1,000 tiny needles as the full reality crashed into me. Marina Schultz had orchestrated every single detail of my humiliation. The timing, the rain, the audience, everything. She threw me into the rain, but I rose. I inhaled shakily, tasting rain and something metallic, probably my own blood from where I'd bitten my lip. "My name is Elena Ward. I'm 28 years old. I have a marketing degree from a decent state school and 3 years of experience building campaigns that actually worked. 3 months ago, everything at Hawthorne Company Marketing felt normal. Good even. I loved my job. I loved the creative challenges. I loved collaborating with my teammates on projects that made real differences for our clients. Then Marina Schultz transferred from the Chicago office to become our new department director. And everything changed. The woman had arrived like a storm system herself, cold, unpredictable, and destructive. Within days, the entire atmosphere shifted. People who used to laugh together started whispering in corners. Confidence turned to anxiety. But I never imagined it would end like this. 3 months earlier, Marina slapped my quarterly report onto the conference table during our team meeting. The sound made everyone jump. "This is cute," she said slowly, like she was scolding a toddler who'd drawn on the walls. "But not exactly leadership material, is it?" Heat rose in my chest so fast I thought I might combust right there. Around the table, my co-workers suddenly found their notebooks fascinating. Eyes dropped, shoulders hunched, the room filled with uncomfortable silence. Her niece, Brianna, sat beside Marina wearing a smile that made my skin crawl. She looked so proud of her aunt, so eager to watch me squirm. I'd worked on that report for 2 weeks. It detailed our social media campaign results, a 37% engagement increase for our biggest client. The data was solid. The presentation was clean. The results spoke for themselves. "I documented measurable growth across all platforms," I said carefully, keeping my voice steady. Marina waved her hand dismissively. "Numbers aren't everything, Eleanor. Vision matters, strategy matters." My strategy had delivered those numbers, but pointing that out felt dangerous suddenly. Marina stood adjusting her designer jacket. "We'll schedule a performance reset meeting. Just you and me." In her office 2 days later, Marina leaned back in her leather chair, twirling her pen between manicured fingers. Everything about her screamed expensive. The watch, the shoes, the cold smile. "You're competent, Eleanor," she began, and somehow made competent sound like an insult. "But competent isn't enough here. Not in my department." I sat across from her, hands clenched beneath the table so hard my knuckles went white. The office felt too warm. My collar felt too tight. She wanted me to beg. I could see it in her eyes, that hungry look waiting for me to break down and plead for another chance. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. "What would you like me to improve?" I asked instead, voice level. Marina's smile widened. "I'm glad you asked. I've decided to assign you a mentor, someone who can help elevate your approach." She pressed the intercom. "Brianna, come in, please." The door opened and Brianna walked in, wearing that same eager expression. She was 24, fresh from grad school with a marketing degree and exactly 0 real-world experience. "Brianna will be guiding your professional development," Marina announced. "She brings fresh perspectives from her recent academic work." My stomach dropped. This wasn't mentorship. This was humiliation with a fancy label. The torture started immediately. Brianna nitpicked everything I produced. My emails were too casual, then too formal. My slide formatting was outdated, then too trendy. My font choices were boring, then too distracting. Every single day brought fresh criticism. "I'm just helping you grow," Brianna would whisper with fake concern, her hand touching my shoulder like we were friends. "Aunt Marina wants you to succeed." Inside I was screaming, but I smiled and nodded and made the corrections because I needed this job. My apartment wasn't going to pay for itself. My student loans weren't going to disappear. The worst part was watching my confidence dissolve. I started second-guessing every decision, every word, every comma. Work that used to flow naturally became agonizing. My co-worker Tyler caught me staring blankly at my computer one afternoon. "You okay?" he asked quietly. "Fine," I lied. He didn't look convinced, but he didn't push. Then came the day Brianna forwarded one of my draft proposals, completely out of context, missing all my explanatory notes, directly to Marina with the subject line, "Concerns about project direction." I found out only because Marina called me into her office 20 minutes later, holding the printed email like evidence at a crime scene. During our weekly team huddle, Marina stood at the front of the conference room and waved my corrected draft in the air like a flag. "This is why we prioritize clarity, people," she announced to everyone. "Vague language leads to confused clients. We cannot afford amateur mistakes." The room went silent. Then someone, I think it was Kyle from Analytics, laughed nervously. Others joined in, probably relieved they weren't the target. My cheeks burned so hot I thought my skin might actually catch fire. My ears rang. Every eye in that room landed on me for one horrible moment before quickly looking away. Humiliation felt like drowning in the shallow water. After the meeting, I practically ran to the bathroom. I locked myself in a stall and pressed my palms against my eyes, willing myself not to cry. Not here, not where anyone could hear. When I finally emerged, I found a yellow sticky note on my desk. The handwriting was unfamiliar. "She's pushing you out. Be careful." No signature, no name. Just a warning from someone who'd clearly seen this pattern before. I discovered the shared file by accident 2 weeks later. I was looking for last quarter's analytics data when I stumbled across a document titled Performance Tracking Confidential. My name was at the top. Below it, dozens of entries logged by Brianna. Hun. Eleanor missed deadline by 30 minutes, lack of time management. Eleanor questioned feedback. Defensive attitude. Elena's presentation lacked executive polish, needs basic training. Item after item, petty observations twisted into damning evidence. Things that weren't even true mixed with exaggerations of normal workplace moments. My breath left my lungs. I sat frozen, staring at the screen. This wasn't mentorship. This was documentation for termination. The next morning, Tyler pulled me aside in the break room. His voice was barely above a whisper. "Elena, I shouldn't tell you this, but Marina's been talking to HR. She plans to replace you permanently with Brianna." My hands started shaking. "When?" "Soon, maybe a few weeks." Everything clicked into place. The constant criticism, the impossible standards, the public humiliation. Marina was building a case. That night I sat in my dark apartment and made a decision. I would not scream. I would not crumble into self-pity. I would not let Marina Schultz destroy me without a fight. I would outthink her. I opened my laptop and started documenting everything. Every email, every meeting, every directive Marina had given me. I noted timestamps, dates, and contradictions. When had she praised work she later criticized? When had Brianna changed requirements after I'd already completed tasks? I created spreadsheets. I organized files. I backed up everything to 3 different locations. Calm, controlled, strategic. This wasn't about revenge, this was about survival, about truth. If Marina wanted to play games, I'd make sure the scoreboard was accurate. My phone buzzed around midnight. An email from Marina's assistant. Marina requests your presence tomorrow at 9 a.m. for a career realignment meeting. Career realignment. Corporate speak for execution. I closed my laptop and whispered to the darkness, "Bring it on." I barely slept, but when morning came, I was ready. Marina's office felt colder than usual. She sat behind her massive desk with Brianna positioned beside her like a loyal soldier. Both wore matching expressions, professional masks hiding predatory intent. Marina slid a thick document across the desk. "This is a performance improvement plan. We've outlined specific areas requiring immediate correction." I picked it up. 20 pages of impossible standards, subjective metrics, and vague accusations. "Sign the last page," Marina continued, tapping her pen. "Or this goes to HR as evidence of your unwillingness to improve." Classic trap. Sign and accept false accusations as truth or refuse and look defensive. I flipped through the pages slowly, taking my time. Marina's jaw tightened. She'd expected immediate desperation. Instead, I smiled. "This requires careful review. I'll need a few days to respond properly." Her eyes narrowed dangerously. "Eleanor, this isn't optional. I understand, and I want to ensure my response is thorough and professional." Brianna shifted uncomfortably. Marina leaned forward. "HR already has concerns about your attitude. Don't make this worse for yourself." There it was, the threat wrapped in concern. In the hallway after that meeting, someone touched my elbow. I turned to find Helen Porter, a senior strategist who'd worked at Hawthorne for 15 years. "Walk with me," she said quietly. We headed toward the back stairwell, where nobody went. Helen checked both directions before speaking. "You're not crazy, Eleanor. Marina's done this before." Hope flickered in my chest like a match in wind. "What do you mean?" Chicago office. 3 people pushed out in 2 years. Same pattern, bring in a relative or favorite, manufacture performance problems, replace the target. Why doesn't anyone stop her? Helen's expression darkened. She's connected. Her brother-in-law sits on the board, but she's not invincible. Then what do I do? Keep documenting and let me help. Helen pulled out her phone. I've been quietly verifying your projects. Brianna's been underreporting your contributions in shared files. I can prove it. My throat tightened with gratitude. Why would you help me? Because I was almost you once. Someone helped me. Now I'm helping you. Helen squeezed my shoulder. The CFO has concerns about Marina's department turnover. He's asking questions. For the first time in months, I felt something like hope. I spent the next week living in spreadsheets and archived files. Every spare moment went to gathering evidence. I checked shared project files against my personal backups. The differences were stunning. In 5 separate projects, Brianna had quietly removed my name from contribution logs. Work I'd completed alone was now attributed to team efforts led by her. Credit for a viral campaign I designed, gone. Reassigned to Brianna's strategic guidance. Data analysis I'd spent weeks perfecting, now credited as collaborative work with no mention of my leadership. I cross-referenced email chains against final reports. The manipulation was systematic and deliberate. Helen met me in the parking garage one evening, away from cameras and curious eyes. I pulled the original versions from IT backups, she said, handing me a flash drive. The files were edited after initial submission. Brianna had access. Marina approved the changes. Proof? Solid, undeniable proof. Helen looked at me seriously. The CFO is concerned about turnover metrics. Marina's losing people faster than any other director. He's reviewing departmental performance next month. The timeline was tight, but I had what I needed. I reorganized everything into a clear professional presentation. Documented evidence of project credit theft, side-by-side comparisons of original and altered files, timeline of contradictory directives from Marina, records of impossible standards applied only to me, email chains proving I'd met every actual deadline. My hands stayed steady as I worked, my breathing stayed calm. This wasn't revenge, this was truth. There's a difference. I saved everything to multiple secure locations. Then I prepared a formal statement documenting the pattern of harassment and discrimination. If Marina wanted war, she'd get documentation instead. My email pinged, HR scheduling my final performance review for the following week. Final, they weren't even hiding it anymore. I replied confirming my attendance. Then I added one line. I'll be bringing supporting documentation for discussion. Let them wonder what that meant. The conference room felt like a courtroom. Marina sat tall, hands folded on the table. Brianna beside her with a notebook. 2 HR representatives I'd never met flanked them. Marina didn't waste time. Eleanor, after careful consideration, we've decided to terminate your position with Hawthorne Company effective immediately. The room tilted slightly. Despite expecting this, hearing the words still felt like a punch. But I kept my voice cool and professional. Is this decision documented accurately in my personnel file? One of the HR reps blinked, surprised by the question. A flicker of panic crossed Brianna's face. Marina's smile didn't reach her eyes. Everything is properly documented. Your performance has been consistently below standards. Interesting, I pulled out my tablet, because I have documentation showing different metrics. Would you like to review them now? The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Marina's jaw clenched. That won't be necessary, the decision is final. You'll leave today. I see. Then I'll request a formal exit interview with complete documentation review. Marina stood abruptly. Security will escort you to collect your belongings. Security guards appeared like shadows, young guys who looked uncomfortable with the whole situation. They walked me to my desk while the entire floor watched. My co-workers avoided eye contact. Some pretended to be deeply focused on their screens. Tyler looked like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the courage. I gathered my things slowly, methodically. Personal photos, my favourite mug, the succulent plant Tyler had given me last Christmas. My chest felt hollow, but my mind was 5 steps ahead. Marina appeared suddenly, grabbing the cardboard box from my hands. I'll carry this out. She marched toward the exit, and I understood instantly. This wasn't about helping. This was about control, about humiliation. The storm outside had been raging all morning. Thunder shook the windows. Rain hammered the glass. Marina shoved the door open with her elbow and barked those words that would change everything. Get out, Eleanor! She literally threw my box at me. It disintegrated in the rain. Everything scattered. Behind me, the door locked with that final, terrible click. Soaked to my skin, shivering in the parking lot, I walked slowly to my car. Every step felt heavy, weighted with humiliation and rage and something else, something that felt almost like freedom. I whispered to the storm, to myself, to whatever future waited ahead. You won't break me. The rain felt like baptism, like washing away the old Eleanor who'd tried so hard to please impossible people. The Eleanor who'd absorbed every insult and swallowed every unfair criticism. That Elena was drowning in this parking lot? Someone else was being born. I sat in my car for a long moment, engine running, heater blasting. Then I pulled out my phone and composed an email to HR. Subject: formal exit interview request, documentation attached. I attached everything, every file, every screenshot, every piece of evidence Helen and I had gathered, the timeline of credit theft, the contradictions, the pattern. Then I copied the CFO's assistant on the email. Marina expected me to disappear quietly, to slink away, defeated. She didn't know I'd kept everything. I hit send. The HR rep called me 2 days later. Her tone had completely changed from that conference room, cautious now, almost nervous. Elena, we've received your documentation. We need to review these materials carefully. Of course, I said calmly. Some of these allegations are quite serious. If verified, they would represent significant policy violations. I understand everything I submitted is accurate and verifiable. There was a pause. We'd like to schedule a follow-up meeting, a more detailed discussion of your documentation. Certainly. When? This Friday. And Elena. Her voice dropped. This meeting will be confidential. Marina Schultz will not be present. Something shifted in my chest. They were taking this seriously. Marina had expected me to vanish. She'd probably already celebrated my departure with Brianna. Maybe they'd gone out for expensive cocktails, toasting their victory. They didn't know the storm was just beginning. The HR meeting lasted 3 hours. 2 representatives and the head of HR sat across from me, laptops open, taking notes. They went through everything methodically, the altered project files, the credit reassignments, the contradictory performance expectations. These original files, the HR director said slowly, show substantially different authorship attributions than current versions. Yes, the changes were made after initial submission. Do you know who made these changes? Brianna Schultz had edit access. The modifications were approved by Marina Schultz. One of the reps zoomed in on a timestamp. This file was altered the same day Marina submitted her quarterly director report, the report that credited Brianna with campaign leadership. The pieces were connecting. They pulled up Marina's performance evaluations of me. Then they compared them to actual project deliverables and client feedback. This client email praises your work specifically, the director noted. But Marina's evaluation from the same period describes your performance as barely adequate. I noticed that discrepancy as well, I said quietly. Their voices grew tighter, more concerned. This contradicts multiple evaluations Marina submitted. Finally, the director closed her laptop. Elena, thank you for bringing this forward. We're escalating these findings to the CFO immediately. The CFO contacted me directly 3 days later. His voice was serious and formal. Miss Ward, I'm Cameron Brooks, Chief Financial Officer. Your documentation has revealed serious discrepancies in departmental reporting and personnel management. My heart pounded so hard I thought he might hear it through the phone. I need to be clear, he continued. What you've presented suggests systematic misconduct. Before we proceed with any formal action, I need a complete written statement detailing your experience. Can you provide that? Yes, absolutely. Include everything. Timeline, specific incidents, any witnesses, all evidence. This will be part of a formal departmental audit. Audit. The word sounded like thunder. I understand, Mr. Brooks. One more thing, Eleanor. This audit will be thorough and confidential. Do not discuss it with anyone currently employed by Hawthorne Company. We need to ensure the integrity of our investigation. After we hung up, I sat in stunned silence. An audit. A real investigation. Marina's world was about to crack open. The audit team moved fast. Within a week, they'd interviewed a dozen employees from Marina's department. I found out later from Helen, who'd also been interviewed, that several people, emboldened by Marina's absence from the office, finally shared their own concerns. Stories emerged. A pattern formed. Marina had systematically favoured relatives and personal connections over qualified employees. She'd manipulated performance metrics to justify terminations. She'd stolen credit for successful campaigns while blaming failures on convenient scapegoats. The audit team uncovered 3 previous employees who left under suspicious circumstances, all replaced by Marina's friends or family members. They found emails where Marina instructed Brianna to streamline documentation for projects, which apparently meant erasing other people's contributions. They discovered Marina had inflated Brianna's qualifications in hiring documents. The graduate degree was actually an incomplete certification program. Every lie was unraveling. Then Marina made her fatal mistake. She stormed into HR demanding to know why she wasn't being included in departmental discussions. "This is my department," she reportedly shouted. "You have no authority to conduct investigations without my oversight." HR informed her calmly that she had no right to interfere with executive-level audits. She left the building pale and shaking. The CFO made his move 3 days later. An email went out to the entire department. Effective immediately, Marina Schultz's departmental authority is suspended pending completion of an internal review. All reporting will temporarily route to senior management. The office erupted in whispered conversations. People who'd been terrified for months suddenly looked lighter, like they could breathe again. Brianna showed up to work that day but left within an hour, avoiding everyone's eyes. Tyler texted me, "Holy shit, Elena, what did you do?" "I told the truth," I replied. Helen called me that evening. The audit team found emails Marina thought she'd deleted. She's been manipulating departmental metrics for years to make her numbers look better. False reports to executives. The CFO is livid. What happens now? Now she falls. The emails surfaced like buried landmines. The IT department recovered deleted messages from server backups. Marina had thought deleting them from her inbox meant they were gone forever. She'd been inflating success metrics for her department while hiding failures. Projects she'd reported as wildly successful had actually lost clients. Campaigns she'd claimed credit for had been executed by people she'd subsequently fired. The audit team found she'd submitted false budget reports, claiming expenses for team development that had actually been personal shopping trips. Every manipulation, every lie, every theft was documented in her own words. The CFO convened an emergency board meeting. Marina was placed on immediate administrative leave. The announcement was short and cold. Marina Schultz has been placed on administrative leave pending investigation of serious policy violations. Further information will be provided as appropriate. They called Brianna in for questioning next. Without Marina there to protect her, Brianna crumbled under pressure. The audit team showed her the altered files, the falsified project logs, the manipulated credits. "Did you make these changes?" they asked. Brianna tried to deflect. "I was updating documents for clarity." "Clarity? You removed Eleanor Ward's name from 5 separate projects she led." Silence. "Did Marina Schultz instruct you to make these changes?" More silence, then quietly. "Aunt Marina said we needed to streamline the logs, make them more efficient." "Streamline by removing other people's contributions?" Brianna's voice cracked. She said Eleanor wasn't a team player, that we needed to show collaborative leadership. The admission hung in the air like a confession at trial. Marina had instructed her niece to falsify documents, to steal credit, to manufacture evidence of poor performance. It was over. 2 days later, the announcement came. Marina Schultz's employment with Hawthorne Company has been terminated for cause, effective immediately. No severance package, no retirement celebration, no glowing references. Just gone. I was sitting in a coffee shop when my phone rang. Unknown number. But something made me answer. "Eleanor Ward?" "Speaking." "This is Cameron Brooks, CFO of Hawthorne Company. Do you have a few minutes?" My heart started racing. "Of course." "I wanted to personally apologize for what you experienced in our organization. The audit revealed systemic failures in oversight that never should have been allowed to develop." "Thank you, Mr. Brooks. I'm calling to ask if you would consider returning to Hawthorne. We've terminated Marina's employment and are restructuring the entire department. We'd like to offer you a position leading our strategy team." The offer hung there, tempting. A full circle moment. Victory. But I'd already moved forward, already started healing. Going back felt like reopening a wound. Mr. Brooks, I genuinely appreciate the offer, truly, but I've already accepted a position elsewhere. A pause. I understand. May I ask where? Brighton Creative. They've offered me a senior strategist role. Brighton's excellent. They're lucky to have you. He paused. Eleanor, would you be comfortable if I recommended you to some of our partner firms? Your work deserves recognition. I smiled. That would be very kind. Thank you. After we hung up, I felt something lift, the last weight of Hawthorne Company, falling away. Brighton Creative interviewed me 2 weeks after my termination from Hawthorne. The moment I walked into their office, everything felt different. Natural light poured through huge windows. People laughed at their desks. The energy was collaborative, not competitive. The creative director, Patricia Valdez, smiled warmly when we met. Your portfolio is outstanding, but I have to ask, why did you leave Hawthorne? I'd prepared for this question. I experienced management practices that didn't align with my values. I documented my concerns and brought them to executive leadership. They took action, but I felt it was time to move forward elsewhere. Patricia nodded slowly. We value integrity here. Your handling of a difficult situation tells me everything I need to know about your character. They offered me the position that afternoon, senior strategist, higher salary than Hawthorne had ever paid me, better benefits, a team that actually functioned like a team. My first week felt like sunlight after months underground. People valued my ideas. They listened when I spoke. They gave credit where it belonged. During my second week, an unknown number texted me. No message, just 3 dots showing someone was typing. I watched those dots for 10 seconds. Then I deleted the conversation without reading whatever came through. The past didn't deserve any more of my energy, see. I walked into my new office on Monday morning, my own space with real windows overlooking the city, and set down my coffee. The succulent Tyler had given me sat on my desk in a new pot, thriving. My computer screen showed 3 new project proposals waiting for my review. Exciting work, creative challenges, opportunities to build something real. I whispered to myself, testing the words. Falling isn't failure, it's direction. Marina's downfall hadn't come from me. I hadn't destroyed her career. She'd done that herself through years of manipulation and lies. Her arrogance had built the trap she'd eventually fallen into. I simply rose. I didn't win by dragging her down. I won by refusing to stay down myself, by documenting truth, by standing firm when everything told me to crumble. The rain that day had felt like an ending, Marina throwing me into the storm, literally discarding me like trash. But storms pass, skies clear. And I'd learned something crucial. You can throw someone into the rain, push them down, try to break them. But you can't stop them from rising. My phone buzzed. Patricia, team meeting in 10. Bringing donuts. I smiled, grabbed my notebook and headed toward my future. The storm was over, the sun was shining, and I was exactly where I belonged.